Hey, hi everybody. Can you all hear me? Um, just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. If that's okay. Perfect. Okay, great. All right. Thank you very much for having me today. And to chat to you. It's a great honor and privilege. I'm joining you today from Durban in South Africa, and it is 3 p.m. in the afternoon here. So just a little bit about me. My name is Clay Phillips. I currently run a non-profit organization that's been going for the last 24 years called WizKids Special Needs Center, where we accommodate non-verbal autistic children and alongside a unit for children with multiple disabilities. So we come from a more holistic and developmental personal approach rather than an ABA or behavioral approach, where we work alongside the child's milestones and the child's preferences, rather than trying to adapt their behavior to make the lives of others easier. We try and adapt the behavior of the child to make them living in our world easier and more comfortable for them rather than the other way around. So it's just a different school of thought to the ABA approaches. I'm a play therapist and social worker by profession. I have worked in the last 22 years across the UK and Europe, as well back in South Africa. I've worked in a variety of settings, so local communities, rural communities, medico-legal, non-profit organizations, ECD, childcare centers, and the like. Okay, so I'm a play therapist and a social worker. So a a topic very close to my heart and my passion is how to get children with autism to engage with their families, with their parents especially. We notice a lot once a parent receives the news that their child has been diagnosed with autism, it becomes quite distressing for them, in that they almost need a mourning period, because they've essentially lost, they've got to grieve for that child that they thought that they were going to have. And one of the big things is, how do I go about now forming a bond with this new child? And how do I encourage a relationship? And everybody knows how one plays with a neurotypical child. Even if it's a mom's first baby, she would have watched Friends and she would have watched Family. But now this is a whole new kettle of fish. This is something new to the mom. It's quite scary, or new to the family. And there's a whole external thing that comes into play, the dynamic that comes into play, about how bonding and forming those primary relationships. Please excuse me if I do start sipping on some water. I have been down with the flu at the moment, so if I get a little bit dry and croaky, please forgive me. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, so my private practice, alongside the WizKids Special Needs Center, is Kaleidoscope Play Therapy and Training Initiative. So I do offer courses to various individuals. I am an accredited training provider with an international accredited body. So we do offer some courses. So let's just go along. This is a little bit about me. I studied an honours degree in psychology at the University of Witwatersrand, and also then social work and inclusive education. So these are just two of the certificates, the professional certificates that we offer at the moment, one in inclusive education and one in a professional certificate in autism facilitation. Okay, there's a lot of one-to-one shadow workers and people who are needed and required by schools, but there's not many qualifications. And so both these courses are internationally accredited and recognized by the International Association of Therapists. So today I'm going to talk just a little bit about playful connections, nurturing relationships with your autistic child. Okay, so it's just tools, tips, and strategies. I do this course as a full day course. Okay, so it is available. So this is just highlights of some of the most more important aspects. Okay. So parents of autistic children, they often find themselves battling with unique challenges, okay? We know that our children with ASD have difficulties with social interaction. We know that that is one of the key features of the spectrum is social interactions, communication difficulties, and anomalies, as well as sensory processing. So a lot of, well, all of these components are very much involved in the components of everyday play, especially when one is forging a relationship and you've got that mutual engaging play. Communication is essential. So this is one of the main things that parents find very difficult. So even though there are what appears to be barriers, just with some knowledge, they are very, I wouldn't say easy, they require practice, but they are readily available to be established. And one can create an inclusive and unique, wholesome, playful experience and forge those bonds with their Asperger's or, Asperger's, autistic spectrum child. So let's go next one. Okay, so just a couple of pictures. We know that children on the spectrum have a unique way of playing. And one of the features of that is that we see them quite often arrange things into a color order or a shape order, size, lining things up. That is due to another one of the key features of the spectrum is that there's that lack of imagination or imaginative capacity. Okay, so for a child on the spectrum that is playing, all right, so where a neurotypical child may take his toy dinosaurs and pretend to engage in some sort of dialogue that is completely lacking because of that social understanding, that social imagination, and largely imagination in general to the ASD child. Hence, we find them arranging things size order, color order, shape order, and so forth. So one of the most important ways to engage with a child with ASD is to follow their interest, follow their lead, right? We come from a perspective where the family needs to immerse themselves in the world of the child rather than trying to align a child's play requirements or what the family thinks the play requirements should be, rather than try to align that with what the family's expectations are. It's often a lot easier if the family immerses themselves in the world of the ASD child and play is taken from there. So a good place to start observing the child's unique preferences and sensitivities and interests. Even if you have a child who is nonverbal, you are able to sort of look and observe and watch what they are attracted to. Do they prefer outdoor? Do they prefer indoor? Do they have a preference for blocks, toy cars, soft, cuddly toys? Right? So creating a safe, comfortable environment according to your child's needs, rather than trying to adapt their behavior and modify their behavior to fit in with how you wish them to play. So join your child in activities, even if it receives repetitive and unconventional. Okay, so what you're doing by doing this is you are building trust and you are building that connection. So even though your child has limited capacity for that social engagement and social understanding, it is not lost on them that there are bonds between humans and primary caregivers, and those bonds and those connections are not lost on those children. So building up trust, as in any relationship, is vital. Imitate what the child is doing and expand on it. So if a child is, in this photo as we can see, pretending to talk on the telephone, copy the child. So you're talking on the telephone, look, daddy's also talking on the phone. Let's phone mommy, and then you can perhaps add to that, escalate what is happening in the game. It's all based on the child's initial request and the child's initial preference as to what they want to engage in. Be playful. Okay, you're not just there to sit there and watch, right? You're not there to condition the child to come and play your games that you want to play. You're the parent, right? And while it is important for parents to be playful and to be friendly, our formative days of playing are essentially over. Right? So we need to look to what the child is doing and immerse yourself, become the child again. Right? As you can see in the little visual that I've put here, you've got dad on his tummy on the floor. He's actually at the child's level, right? So the autistic child who learns and absorbs information by the world from what he can see around him, right? He doesn't have this great big imposing father figure up here. He has somebody on the ground who's at his level, creating that and fostering that sense of safety and familiarity. So pay attention, be present, be mindful. So you don't have one hand in the toy car and the other hand on your cell phone, and you are talking on WhatsApp or checking on Facebook or Instagram or taking selfies. Be present. This is time to put your devices away and play. Right? We've forgotten how to play as a society. You're creating a joint mutual attention shared space. A very, very big one is to respect your child's sensory sensitivities. Okay, so if your child is sensory seeking, make that part of the game. So here we've got actually it's a learning activity where the children obviously have a tactile seeking preference, and you can really play into a lot of these things. Playing with toys in water, drawing with water crayons. I don't know if you have wax crayons that I know we have available a variety of crayons and drawing sheets that work underwater, and you just pour a little tub of water, the child can write and draw and play things under the water. If you don't have the actual specialized thing, a laminated sheet of paper and a wax crayon will do just fine. Shaving foam, painting with their hands, painting with their fingers. That works very, very well for a child who is sensory seeking, but there's often children who are, sensory defensive, tactile defensive, and they don't want to touch it. Right? Or if a game involves a loud noise and the child is auditory defensive, it's not going to be a fun experience. Okay, respect the child's sensory preferences. Don't condition them from the perspective we come from. We're not conditioning them to become accustomed to a certain noise to play loud games, or the game that they want to play. It's about doing what is comfortable for them. Once you've started from a place of comfort, mutual engagement, you've created that trust, you've fostered that sense of joint connection, then you can start building towards and moving towards situations in the wider world that may be more daunting from a sensory level. All right, so if a game's loud and noisy, about playing things that gradually escalate and gradually introduce, you will eventually be able to work that into their sensory profile, and work strategies and accommodations for those various aspects. Okay, so gradually introduce challenges. Okay, when your child is feeling comfortable with something, then you can up the ante. So we're not playing the same thing over and over and over. Okay, as the child becomes more comfortable, then you are able to make things a little bit harder, or go according to their individual developmental stage. Bearing in mind, a lot of children on the spectrum have missed out, essentially, or not on the developmental milestone levels where they would be on their, of their neurotypical peers. Okay. But most importantly, when you're introducing changes and challenges, is to prepare the child for the transition. We know autistic children do not like transitioning very much. It is uncomfortable for them. And it is something that, however you deal with transitioning with your child, that needs to be applied into your play setting. So remember that each child is unique. What works for one child doesn't work for another, and you have to tailor your approach according to specific interests, sensitivities, and developmental levels. Communication elements. Just some other things to keep in mind. Play is a form of, well, involves and thrives on and requires communication. So we know communication is one of the criteria of the autistic spectrum, that there are anomalies or deficits in communication and communicative relationships and interactions. So remember that your child may not be able to understand your non-verbal communication. So if you're sitting smiling at them, which a neurotypical counterpart might think, oh, that's great, mommy's happy with me and we can sit here and do it forever. The child on the spectrum may not be reading into that non-verbal cue. Children on the spectrum also can take things very literally. So you need to say carefully and explicitly what you mean. If you're going to try and hurry a child, or you're giving an instruction or a command, do not use metaphor. Do not say, come, step on it, or shake a leg. All those sort of metaphoric terms that we use, or idioms that we use to sort of pepper up or to spruce up our language. A child on the spectrum, again, social understanding, language understanding, and interpretation is compromised by the communication and lack of imaginative abilities. Okay, so if they say step on, if you're saying to a child, come, step on it, we want to hurry up, they're not going to mean it, they might actually stamp on the toy. All right. So again, going back to your keeping things very clear and explicit, things very rigid and structured. If you could keep what you are trying to impart, or your instructions or directions, concise, and it's one thought or one idea at a time. Do not create a space of overload for the child if they can't handle it. All right. So if they can only handle one idea or one concept or one instruction at a time, work with that. All right. So communication and interaction tips. So be patient. Again, patience. And I think the whole premise of working with children largely, and especially children who are on the spectrum, is to be patient. It may take the child a little bit longer. There may be language processing issues as a comorbidity, but even if not, it often takes children with ASD longer to process information. Slow down your conversation. Check that you are imparting, they are receiving what you are trying to impart. Use long pauses and consolidate. They don't pick up the toy now, pick up the toy now, pick up the toy now. Please, can you pick up the toy? Let's pick up the toy. All right, so it needs to be longer, more concise, and very simple. Also, to be aware of something is to teach the child how to express anger without being too aggressive. We don't need to condition the anger out of the child, even though the child is on the spectrum, their emotional processing may differ. We need to acknowledge that there still are emotions like any other peers, and it is how they manage their emotions appropriately. So there are tips, and obviously this is covered more extensively in my full day seminar on this topic, is strategies to teach your child how to express anger or frustration. Anger and frustration often come up in play type forums. For example, if they can't find the piece to a puzzle, they can't make it fit, struggle to get the lid of something, Legos aren't working, with building blocks and the tower falls over. These are all quite frustrating, but they are also very good learning opportunities and social exercises and social construct exercises on how to teach the child to be patient and how they can manage their emotions and manage their responses rather than elicit reactions. Be persistent and be resilient. Don't let your feelings get in the way. This is very difficult for a lot of parents, all right? Because the child is not responding in a manner in which they would like or which they deem neurotypical. Perhaps they've got siblings who don't play the same, and the child on the spectrum is frustrating because their play differs. You need to control your responses and not let your feelings get in the way. All right, children on the spectrum can be very blunt. They are very literal. They may say exactly what they see. It's your job as a parent, as an adult, to not let that offend you, not to become upset by it, not to hold that or resent the child for it. So always stay positive. Children on the spectrum respond very well to positive reinforcement, and that positive reinforcement, and I don't think we pay enough attention to this, but verbal, never underestimate the power of verbal reinforcement. Always talk about the positive aspect. And by that, I don't mean continually saying, well done, well done, well done, well done, good boy, good girl, good boy, right? I really liked how you didn't get mad when your Lego fell over. Wow, good job. You didn't get mad, you just picked it up. Well done. That is, create a dialogue, create communication around the whole situation. It fell over. Oh no, that's very sad, but it was so easy and so quick just to pick it up. Well done. Well done for calling mommy to come and help you pick it up. Well done. Good job. That's excellent. That's it. Create a positive dialogue and reframe and reflip the situation. Okay, so I won't take up too much of your time any longer. Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure and privilege. So if you want to contact me, I do offer online consultations, whether you are a center or parent wanting advice or ideas. As I say, I'm in South Africa. I forget which time zone we are. I think we +2, whatever it is, it's 3 p.m. at the moment. I have a Facebook page, Kaleidoscope Play Therapy and Mental Health Interventions. Please give me a like and follow and a review if you enjoyed my little speech today. There is my email address, and that is my cell phone number. I am on WhatsApp. I'm also available by Facebook Messenger, and you're welcome to contact me. So just stop sharing here. There we go. Thank you very much. I hope you all got something from that today. And if there's no questions, you can please leave a comment below. What I will do is, I think my details are available, or if you want my details, please leave a message in the little box here, and I will respond to you, or pop you an email, or a WhatsApp, or a WhatsApp call, etc. But everybody have a lovely evening, morning, afternoon further, wherever you may be. And it was lovely being able to connect with you all. Thank you very much.